Yes, here we go, P.M.P. We got Windy!
Monkeys off the back.
Just that, my man. Nice one. Well done, Celtic. Well, it was a good game of football tonight. And it was the least likely game so far, I think, this season that I've enjoyed as much. Because I really was. I wasn't as far as maybe something like Conor Carey was on Monday. I wasn't as far in the camp of don't even watch it if you're in the house. I could understand why people maybe didn't want to go to it just to show their annoyance at where Celtic's direction of travel currently lays. Totally get all that. But as a game of football, brilliant. It was a good game and we won it. They were no mugs. We're going to talk all about it for the next half an hour or so. Thank you to everyone who's joined the bus. There's 87 live already. What about that, Terry? My voice is slowly but surely recovering. And the Punk Duck Warlord in the group chat called me a diva for missing the show on Monday for my voice. Hopefully you can hear it. That is struggling a wee bit. What was I going to say? All that good stuff. Like, share, slag the hair, slag the Jake if you want to. If you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like so many of you Celtic fans have, like Ian McIntosh, Jim C, Gary Patterson, Stephen Murdoch, Gary Brown, Jim Dolan, Martin Weir, there's loads of you. Alex as well. Anyone else? 420 somewhere. There's loads. Pam, who can forget Pam? Ali's in there as well. There's loads. It's all free content. It's $1.99 a month if you want to keep the wheels on the road. Martin Wilmot in there as well. Another one of our members, as is Stuart Miller. You look like my gran's wee tray that holds our sausages for her dinner. Been accused of us, mate. Been accused. Right, okay. The lineup got a bit of attention, Terry. Let's go back right to the start. Kyogo came back in for O. Not too surprised there, although I think it's worth the talking point. Has Kyogo lost his smile? Whether we do that tonight or somewhere down the shows this week, I think it'd be a good talking point. Has Kyogo lost his smile? The other surprise, Mikey Johnson got his third start in a row. Champions League football, Mikey Johnson starting all those years after his debut. Maybe not quite the aspirations that we'd hoped for a Celtic side, but again, that's the way it was. And what was the other surprise? Obviously, Stephen Welsh. We cannot miss that because I even tweeted, and you love this, I tweeted, it was nice knowing you, Lager Bielka. Stephen Welsh. I give up, man. I'm fucking hopeless at this. Right, okay. Let's get your thoughts on the lineup first and foremost.
Yeah, the only surprise for me was that Paulo Bernardo didn't start, but I was not one bit surprised when he was the first substitute to come on. Just keeping with the script that he only plays in the Champions League. Stephen Welsh was a strange one, so that's his first start of the season. I think the last time him and Scales played together was the game at the Aviva Stadium against Wolves pre-season. Nat Phillips's performance at the weekend in the second half has obviously not gone down well with the manager, to the point where Stephen Welsh coming back from injury is picked ahead of him in a Champions League game. We probably approached this game with the same kind of trepidation maybe as the game at Ibrox, when you look at that lineup and you're getting into it with a centre-back partnership which could only be described as, on paper, not fit for the Champions League. Iwata kept his place, which was fine. And do you know what? In the time that he was on, I think we had a bit more control of the game than whenever he went off. Bernardo, again, for me, I just don't get it. He doesn't score goals. He doesn't.
You knew he was going to be the replacement, though.
I knew he was coming on. In the contract, he gets a bit of game time in these ones, but I just don't see what he brings. I mean, the guy might develop somewhere else. He won't be at Celtic beyond this season. If there was a way of getting rid of him in January, I would do it as well. I just don't see the point. Doesn't create goals, doesn't score goals, doesn't do anything to stop goals. I just don't see the point. Mikey Johnson, it's kind of that, it's just that merry-go-round. Johnston, Yang, Forrest, whoever, just keep changing it and hope one of them works. probably never thought I would say this, but I'm really looking forward to Maeda being back. Hopefully this weekend, because at least
Maeda.
at least
I think you're harsh on Maeda.
Eh?
I think you're harsh on Maeda. I like Maeda.
No, I do like him. I do like him.
He's a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
No, I do like the guy. I love his endeavor and stuff like that. Sometimes I just want a wee bit more of a silky player, but no, I'm looking forward to getting him back. He's better than what we've had since he went out of the team. Absolutely, no doubt about that. But
yeah,
the centre back partnership, we know it's not a Champions League. It's not a Champions League defence. Even though Welsh has been at Celtic longer, I think the fact that he was coming back into the team after a long layoff, Scales becomes the senior partner again there at the back. And as we've seen at Ibrox, he stood out tonight for me. And I know a lot of people have kind of said, right, he's starting to revert to type and he's hit his ceiling. And I blamed him for the second goal on Sunday. I thought he could have engaged the assister a lot quicker, and you were starting to see wee things creeping in where you're thinking, yeah, do you know what, we need to do better than Scales. But I actually thought tonight was probably, out of all those appearances, I thought he was immense tonight. I really did. And again, it's that game at Ibrox and that game tonight where he becomes the person that you're relying on to hold that defence together. And I thought he was really, really solid tonight. But that's the lineup done. Kyogo coming in. I think in a couple of weeks, Bhoycie, he'll be scoring goals again. The smile will be back again. I think he's just gone through one of those patches. He just needs to catch a break. He got a chance early on in the game. It was just on his wrong side. It was on his left foot. If that was on the right foot, I reckon he bursts the net. And I think he just needs one. He just needs one to get him going again.
He's got his chin up as well a wee bit. I think there's almost a bit of him that he's feeling a wee bit on the periphery in terms of the play itself. And he's probably overthinking it a wee bit right now.
Yeah, but if you're a striker and you're not scoring goals, that's your currency. You know.
Of course. But if you're a striker and you don't get the ball whatsoever and you're not scoring goals, it's understandable to a point. I think he's one of those folk that when he's up, he's right up there. And if he's a bit cheesed off, he goes a wee bit lower, maybe than most. But I look forward to seeing him back in amongst the goals because you're right. I'm sure it'll happen as well. Big shout out, Mike K. Cole 8212. Just became our latest member. Cheers, pal. Yeah, the Kyogo one, I thought he was still the right choice to start the game, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Notwithstanding that, though, I thought O was very good when he came on tonight. Very good. I think he was done for that goal as well. I don't see a foul in that whatsoever. That is, to me, the physical battle of football can't be lost now to just being technique. That's where the game's going. You're losing all character out of the game. You're losing the mental attributes that used to make watching a football match, for me, far more compelling. But it used to make me far more drawn to a game, was all the different sort of attributes that made up a player. Whereas now, it seems to just be, how good your technique and how fit are you? And that'll be who'll win the match. And it becomes a bit defaultish if that's the case. To me, O wanted that ball more than the centre-half. The centre-half thought very quickly, dropped to the ground, holding his ankle, fuck all in it. I liked what I seen from O. Hopefully he can try and, by keeping up the competition on Kyogo, not let Kyogo get too downhearted. We can't put our arm around players all the time either. O's had to accept being second fiddle, a hell of a lot. And I would like to think him putting pressure on Kyogo would bring out the best in the wee man, not anything else. But we'll see how it goes. I agree with you, though. I expect to see him back in the goals.
Anyway, Bhoycie, if Kyogo continues this slump, what's the chances of him being away for the Asian competition if he hasn't scored?
Master plan behind it all. That'd be good, eh? Yeah, that'd be good.
Did you see the whistles and hand signals were back tonight? Did you notice that? He must have listened to the boss on Sunday.
I did notice a bit more of that.
Did you see that, did you?
That's funny, isn't it? More active. I still think, I don't know if I'm overthinking it, but I still feel at times when you see Rodgers, even when he scored the goal, he's quite animated. I didn't like the body. Like Kennedy's almost like forced a handshake at the end of it. And I'm like, you have to bring in your own men, so it looks like it's a team in the dugout as well, because they'll all be in unison. See, when you come in on your own, you've got to remember you're now the third, fourth appointment that Kennedy's not wanted to happen. And whether I felt like that or not, it's just a fact. The body language doesn't always look great when it's not your men. And maybe Kennedy's just a quieter type of person, as is Gavin Strachan. But I think if you come with a manager, and you're part of that team from the original appointment date, I think you see a more lively dugout when they get a goal. They're all more in unison. Look all like that. Brendan at times looks a wee bit on his own.
This result doesn't change anything. There's definitely something missing. There's something just not right. One late winner doesn't change all of that. It changes probably the smile on our face and the enjoyment that you take out of tonight. But it doesn't change. There's something just not right. I mean, his press conferences, I watched the one yesterday and you're listening to it, and you just want to give him a wee bit of a shake, don't you? And it's one thing he's always described as being calm, but there's being calm and there's being disengaged. And I don't know if the lever's too much close to it almost feels disengaged. And it really is a strange one.
Hopefully next night tonight we'll reinvigor that. Anyway, let's get to
the thing, Bhoycie, because in the grand scheme of things, the match didn't mean anything in terms of the points. It obviously was a great result for the board, because that's another 2.4 million cash in the bank, which takes us up to 74.7 or something like that. But I think what you just hope is that euphoria, that euphoria of getting a late winner, getting that monkey off your back in the Champions League, beating what I thought was a very, very decent side tonight. I thought they were much, much better than they were in the first game. You just hope that rolls into these next few games in the SPL. We start to assert a little bit of authority. You want to get those 3 games that we haven't been able to win in a row domestically. You hope that that's going to roll over. We're going to get those 3 wins. Then we go into the game against Rangers, and within the next 2.5, 3 weeks, this whole thing could turn around from where we're at right now, where we're starting to get a little bit nervy, a little bit edgy, a little bit concerned. That could all be put to bed in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, or it could flip the other way and our fears are realised. But you're just hoping, getting that win, getting the points, getting the buzz of winning a game in the Champions League against a decent side. You hope that just rolls into the next few weeks and we start to assert.
The amount of wins you talk about there in a row would be the first time this season as well. So that'd be quite interesting. Do you know what I mean? It's quite a challenge. I think it's time now that we just go really game by game, because I hadn't actually realised until a week or so ago we hadn't won 3 games in a row yet this season. It's like, fuck. So it's a
great game at the weekend as well. I don't know why. I always look forward to Hearts. At the Tynecastle game's always one that I really look forward to, but the home game as well. I don't know what it is about Hearts. It's just a game that I look forward to.
Minis.
I think it's always one that
diets.
But they are probably not as much now as maybe 20 years ago. But there was a time when Hearts were title challengers and were a good side, and you kind of probably just hang on to that. I still look at Hearts and Aberdeen as, other than the Rangers games, Hearts and Aberdeen would be the next 2 that you regard as being, I suppose, if you want to say, the bigger games. But obviously through time, those games have kind of diluted a little bit because of the financial disparity between Celtic and those teams. But I still look forward to Hearts as an attractive fixture, and I think they are a side that they're always capable of presenting some kind of challenge, and it's always nice to get one over them. So I'm already looking forward to the weekend, to that one, all the more so given that we've just come off that win tonight.
Yeah, good point as well. Let's get to the first goal. Penalty for Celtic, because I know there's going to be decisions we talk about in the second half. I don't think there can be any complaints, Terry, that that's a penalty from the other side. Watch that replay. He has his arm, unnatural position, and this is an handball I'm talking about. It's kind of round scales. He's maybe not quite his neck like Hartson would describe it as, but certainly over his shoulder. How much of a tug does he make? I think it becomes irrelevant by then.
Yeah,
I think the rule now is if you're making some sort of jersey pull or tug at the player to hold them back, to restrain them, the penalty is going to be given now. It's not about force with something like that. It's quite black and white. Are you trying to prevent the player from getting to the ball? Whether it be half-hearted or not, I think it's a penalty. I don't think that was Celtic getting luck that they were due. I just look at that in isolation. The other decisions, I think we can do some contrasting and comparing with, and we'll get to that. But in terms of the penalty, you must have been happy with that. Then who takes it for you? Had it not been Palmer?
The penalty, and how I look at football, I think it was soft. But how football is now, it's a penalty, and once it's given, there's absolutely no way VAR's going to overturn that, because, as you say, the arm is clearly around the neck. Do I think there was enough force to put Scales down? I very, very much doubt it. But that's where we're at with football. That's the game.
And there's a word called streetwise, Terry.
Yeah. And
thrown about all the time.
Celtic can be accused of not being streetwise in lots of occasions. But tonight, that one's gone our way, and yeah, it is a penalty. I think it's soft in that I don't think there was a lot of force there, but that's the game. The players know, if with the cameras and everything, if you've got your arm around somebody's neck, that's going to be given. Even if you're only tickling his ear, it's going to be a penalty. Do you know what I mean? And then Palmer, yeah, he was going to be the person to take it. I don't think it was the most convincing penalty ever, but as long as it ends up in the net, it really, really doesn't matter. But it's one of those ones, again, you're kind of thinking, when we get a penalty, I almost become even more nervous, because I'm just expecting us to miss it. But he's on a run. He's got 2 in a row, and he'll stay on them. He'll stay on them at least until he misses one again. But at least he seems to have ditched that stutter run up. That seems to be gone. I was wondering.
Stuart Miller says Palmer has definitely been told to stop the shitty wee run up. He's been told. Can you tell a player to change their technique for a penalty? I wouldn't have them on penalties for you.
All I know is he missed one, and now he's changed his technique.
I get that. Yeah. I get that. I would like to think that was a self-made decision, though, surely. I don't think we can be in the land of appointing a penalty taker, then telling them how to take it. That'd just be fucking weird, right?
He's maybe watched it back and seen how stupid he looked and decided to himself.
It is the modern way. Anyway, so had to go 1-0 and get to half-time. That was the big shock. Now, I know they had opportunities hitting the post, things like this. And to be honest, on another day, maybe that's where we did have some luck tonight. Because I thought at half-time, normally it would be 1-1, particularly with the chances. They looked like they were really beginning to create the offside goal, the post. There was another opportunity as well. Joe Hart did very well in the first half also. We dug it, no. We got that bit of luck. Obviously, we were going to get a bit of luck in a dead rubber. We know that. Yet we still find ourselves going to 1-1. The start of the second half for me again, Terry, bad vibes, mate, in that first minute. They had the ball in our box.
Yeah.
We cannot keep coming out of a changing room, mate, whether it's starting a game or starting a second half, so lackluster. It just can't be accepted. And yet we're seeing patterns, Terry. This isn't me being over dramatic. We cover every game in the P.M.P. We're seeing the patterns, whether it be the first half or the second half. They seem to alternate, or it be one or the other. It doesn't seem to be both halves. But at least one half a game, we're coming out of changing room cold. I don't get it.
Aye. Well, I think in terms of this one, we actually should have been 2 up 3 minutes into the second half with Palmer's miss. But I do get where you're coming from. See the first couple of minutes of the second half, we were caught. And another trend that, again, we've talked about, don't like keep focusing on negatives for the same player, but twice in the first 45 seconds of the second half, Feyenoord played a long ball from the defence into our left-back area. That's obviously a result of what they've talked about at the halftime break. That's no coincidence that they've come out for the second half and they've immediately banged 2 long balls down into that direction, and they've got something from it. So the only difference from the weekend is that we that trend didn't continue for the entire second half. Whilst we didn't really look like getting a second one until we did. Other than that chance that I mentioned, I thought it was a great chance for Palma. He kind of scuffs it. If it's probably the only thing Mikey Johnson done in the whole game. I thought he was. I can't even sit and say he worked hard because I don't even know if he did. But he got towards the byline once early in the second half, and he fizzed a lovely ball across. And Palma gets it on his right, and you're just expecting the net to bulge, and he doesn't strike it clean at all, which isn't what you expect from him. And probably from then until we get the second goal, I didn't really feel we were going to score. And I always felt throughout that second half. And funny, the longer it went, I just think, we know what's coming here. We really, really know what's coming. And it came. The only difference was tonight, we obviously got one back again. But I said to my dad, 80 minutes, I said to my dad, we've seen this movie, haven't we? And he turns around and he says it's only a matter of time. And lo and behold, along it came.
Let's talk about their goal first. That's the most amount of space you could ever see afforded in an opposition box. Ever, Terry. It's unacceptable. I don't know who's meant to be covering this guy, because Johnson's clearly moved in one. I think it's Forrest that's on the right by then. Is he meant to be back covering there? I don't know. But either way, I can't understand how, when you're protecting a lead, somehow you could find in your own box a player with a radius, Terry, of around 10 to 12 yards. That's all angles, no one near him. He could pick his moment. He took one healthy first touch. That ball was in the net before he'd even struck it. You knew. And that's not because of the typical Celtic. That's because of look at the position he's found himself in. Where are our defence? Where are they? That's why that you knew that ball was going in. Then I suppose you can add to it the Celtic factor in the Champions League if you want. But that didn't really have anything to do with that. That was just utterly poor from our point of view.
You can add in though that it came quite soon after that enforced change where Welsh hasn't been able to continue, and we've brought Lagerbielke on, which obviously as the game plays out, you're obviously glad that that's actually happened. But I think their goal was probably within 10 minutes of him coming on. But I don't even think you can't really put it down to we're still trying to reorganise after the substitution. They had lots of chances across the game, Bhoycie, and it probably the only surprise is that it took the 80 minutes, because there was lots of times again in that first half and throughout the second half. You're just expecting to see the net bulge, because it's just been ingrained in you in the last 10 years that every time a team gets into our box, the net ends up bulging. And there was lots of times where their players found themselves in acres of space. And whilst I said I thought Scales had an excellent game, and I actually thought Stephen Welsh had a steady enough game too, there was a lot of times they got through our defence really, really easily at the same time. So I thought the two players played reasonably well as individuals, but when you think about the amount of times and the ease with what they got through, I mean, there was one in the first half where the centre forward he just was through on Joe Hart, and again you're expecting the net to bulge, and Hart makes the save. And to be fair to Hart, he made some decent saves. There probably wasn't anything that you didn't expect him to save, but we've probably grown to expect him not to save all the stuff that he's meant to save. I think he saved all the ones that he should have saved tonight. But you just knew that goal was coming. There was no way I could see us keeping a clean sheet. No way.
So the goal comes, and then it's 10 minutes of consistent pressure for Feyenoord. Actually, I think within 5 minutes of them getting equaliser, I counted 3 efforts on target from them.
Yeah.
Terry, on another day, one of those goes in. We can't keep caving like that as well. And I don't want to sound too negative. We got the result. I'm just going blow by blow right now. We'll get to the optimistic bit, which is a winner. But when we concede, for whatever reason, you know when there used to be a saying, you're most vulnerable when you score a goal?
Yeah.
Celtic are the most vulnerable when they concede a goal to concede a fucking other. It's particularly in Europe. And that was the case tonight. Say that again?
Expected it to happen as soon as they got the equaliser. You're thinking, we've seen this movie.
And they created the chances to do so again tonight.
They did. The only thing, Bhoycie, we didn't touch
We
on there.
seem to go a bit very quick. Go on.
See the guy that scored the equaliser. He shouldn't have been on. He should have been gone.
Well, decisions
And
was
another
good
one.
after the goals.
See the
cool.
guy that gave the penalty away. He had 3, possibly 4 more tackles other than that, but definitely the guy that scored the goal shouldn't have been on, because the tackle that he put in, who was it on? It was kind of in our left centre back area. Was it on? He put in a tackle which was a clear yellow card tackle, and he's already been booked. I'm not sure. I think it was in Scales, maybe. I think it might be. And if he's not booked, that's a yellow. And I don't know. I thought the referee was poor tonight. I really, really did.
The one where the boy's he's got the boot up. He kind of just stands on our player's foot. I'm trying to think who the fuck it was. Taylor was the one I'm thinking of. You're right, Brown Morel. He says he put one in Scales. It's Taylor's the one I'm thinking of. See at the end of the day, right? See whether your foot's a yard in the air or whether it's still kind of on the ground. See if the boot's at that sort of flat angle and the studs are up. I don't really see much of a difference between Maeda's and that one. Maeda's was a straight red. This one doesn't get looked at. Now, let's get fucking real. At no point are we going to sit here and say there's a UEFA bias against Celtic decisions and stuff, right? Let's get that right. But there's an inconsistency, as you rightfully point out, Terry. That fucks me off.
Just think it's per referee.
And we went down to 9 men over in Rotterdam against a team I thought we could have beaten.
And we went down to 10 men in Madrid when we could have done with 12 or 13 men.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's just inconsistency. It must be frustrating for players, because you go from one game to the next where things that happen are just treated completely differently. And I know it's not an easy job refereeing a game. It can't be, but frustrating. But anyway, let's go to the winner. Right.
What I realised before this happened when I was watching the game, just by wee touches, just wee moments, Matt O'Reilly is the type of player that gives us bold belief that what they're doing is right. Matt O'Reilly, let me assure you, is such an exception to the under £2 million rule. It's frightening. We don't have enough players of his ability at the club. And for me, he should be someone we're using as a template right now. Not in terms of scouting League One for the same, but in terms of current level, current age, maturity. And I think when I look at O'Reilly's level, how he's grown, fair enough. But right now, I just think he's playing above the level too many of them aren't able to reach in that team, and or ever will. That's just the harsh cruelty of what I'm saying. But I also worry that people think, well, here's an example how these project players work. I think he had a bit more stock about him than we were aware of up here in Scotland. I think in the football insiders and all that, I think knew this guy had a hell of a lot of clout about him, and Liverpool was scouting him and all that at the time. But this season, he's took his form to another level. Sadly, though, the damning indictment for a player like O'Reilly is because he'll look around and realise no one's keeping up with him, Terry. That's the problem. That leads them to then leave. See, when you see players coming in that you get encouraged by because they're a level up, they're on your wavelength, or they're pushing you to get better, that entices you to stay, because the challenge at Celtic's actually a fascinating one. If you can get your teeth into it and you can make a fist of Europe and have, like this season will be, a title race for the league with packed stadiums whenever you go to it, you're a god up here when you play here. It makes it quite an attractive proposition to play at Celtic for a few more years. Now, we don't expect to get more than 2 out of any player that seems to be above a level we're now getting too accustomed to. That's the problem as well. Our standards of the average Celtic player has dropped massively. But O'Reilly also, to be fair, I think is up there right now with as good as we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years from anyone. That assist tonight was a joke.
I think that might be 3. I think that might be 3 assists. in this Champions League.
Yep.
It's definitely 2. There was one for Kyogo. I think it might be 3 that he's had. I mean, it wasn't a game where it wasn't a midfield masterclass from him or anything like that. But what's happened is
he played well.
He's come up with a moment of real quality that has got us the points. I do think back to Sunday though, and it's hard not to. He wasn't able to do it on Sunday when the chips were down and we really needed it.
Yeah, so first half I thought he was good.
That's maybe a part of his game. That's maybe a part of his game that's still there to develop is how to dig in when the chips are down and things aren't going your way. But yeah, well, I'm nitpicking his consistency. The odd game apart, his consistency this season has been brilliant. And he, out of all of the players, has probably been the one that the European campaign, he's been able to. He's been our best player in those games. If somebody goes and watches all of our games back, the one player they would pick out would be Matt O'Reilly because of those key moments of quality where he's been able to create the opportunities and the goals for us.
He's a special player. That first touch, I think he's seen the ball when it's getting delivered. Then he'll have lost sight of it because there's a player right in front of him. And he just premeditates when it's going to land. And the touch he does, it's deft, but it's also clever because it gets him inside. Yeah. And then see the way he opens the boot for the cross. It's just the wee weight on it that he's put. It's just so nice. It's just so good. He's managed to get the head up and seen Lagabielka. He just weighted that cross perfectly. It's on a.
My surprise says he didn't miss.
Fucking hell. No, because I'd called him out on Twitter.
What an unlikely hero, though. How often does that happen? An unlikely hero.
Because of my tweet. I'm telling you, you should have known better. I should have known better. Delighted for him, though. But here's the thing. On Lagabielka, what was it Brendan said the reason he wasn't getting starts was?
He needs
personality and training and things. What's the first thing Mac says in his interview tonight? He's such a hard trainer. He impresses every single day. Honestly, this guy works so hard. I'm so happy for him. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm listening to anymore. Honest to fuck. Like, what am I listening to? No one has a clue.
Do you remember when Rodgers was up here at Celtic the first time? As he always, in every interview, he talks about when I was here the first time. But you hung on every word that he said. But see, after he left, and if I heard him doing a press conference or talking to Sky or whatever when he was Leicester manager, I used to just sit and go, he's just talking the biggest load of shite. And then the minute he comes back up again, that all changes and we're all hanging on every word again. I actually do think he's an absolute shite talker. He just talks absolute shit. He does. And I think we need to accept that. That's who he is. We're blinded and we want to listen and believe everything the Celtic manager.
Or is it Cal Mack, though, just giving the usual sound bites for getting the player in question? He would have said the same answer, I think, about anyone. Shane's so hard. I'm just so happy for him. He's got those answers lined up for whatever player it is.
I still think Brendan's full of shit. I honestly do. I think he's.
All right, he is full of shit.
I don't think we can take anything. You can't take anything from what he says anymore. There's nothing you can take and try to make any sense out of it. I mean, that's been seen with the team lineups, the way players have been coming in and out. People appear from nowhere, come into the team, then they're out again. He talked a wee bit in his conference yesterday about what might happen in January. That doesn't give any indication at all. I think he just talks nonsense now. Well, he should probably one just to make sure we don't miss. What about the young lad coming on? I thought he looked hungry. Yeah. I think he might be a left back actually, and
one of them.
I don't know if that's true or not. I think he might be a left back. I haven't seen much of. I don't even know. Does he play in the B team or? I take it he plays.
I didn't know much about him, mate.
I take it he plays in the B team, but at least there was a bit of effort there. And if he is a left back, it probably gives him a better chance than some positions of maybe getting a game or two. He's obviously found his way onto the bench for these games through the homegrown rule, but Again, whilst Celtic shirts don't shrink to fit inferior players, I think it was good just to see one of those guys getting on and getting a bit of game time. To be fair, he looked all right.
He contributed. He did. And by the way, I think as well, from Brendan's point of view, okay, the game was a dead rubber. You could argue. Anyway, Cange gives him minutes. You only give. Remember, let's not be fooled by the Ben Doak thing. Oh, Ange was trying to get him in the team. Ange played him to try and convince him to stay because he's had Liverpool's interest. That's the reality on that. Let's not be fooled. But anyway, let's round it off. Terry, here's the positives. And here's what the board want to hear. £2.4 million came their way, as you rightfully pointed out, for a win. Celtic finished the group stage on double the points they did last year. Who's not progressing? Hey, who's not progressing? The amount of games that a win hoodoo comes to an end. Players that were unfancied get involved in the score sheet or put in heroic displays or get more than a 7 out of 10. The team look back on track. It's all good news, right?
Yeah. That's probably going to be the way it spins, isn't it?
You know it, mate. You know it.
It probably is. But I go back to what I said. I hope it's the catalyst for wins. If Celtic are winning games, I'm happy. And I know there's lots of other issues going on, but I'm delighted with the result tonight. I hope it kicks on for. Is it Saturday? I think it's Saturday. We play Hearts. It could be Sunday, but I think it's Saturday. It's the League Cup final Sunday, isn't it? The Rangers Aberdeen game. The game that you can go and get your picture took with the cup on Monday afternoon already.
Oh, you want to hear the careful what you wish for.
But no, I totally get that sort of argument that you've made there. That result tonight might.
It was a bit of what's it they call it?
A few things.
What's it called? Satire. Is that what it's called? That's what I was trying to do. I think Ali thinks the board's going to love that, Russell.
I know you can imagine the boys. You can imagine the boys in the boardroom, Morris sitting rubbing their hands together, can't you?
Probably saying that we knew we were right. We knew we were fucking right, eh? Do you know what? It was a win in the Champions League. One thing I will say is I always want Celtic to win a game of football.
I know.
That's what we did tonight. We won a game of football. But am I aware it's a bittersweet win? Firstly, because it was a meaningless game, whether people like it or not. It did give more money to the fat cats that they will not spend in the team. It also then papers over cracks for them not to invest as much as I would like in January, albeit there's a few hurdles in the way before now in January, which might reawaken them. But then there's the flip side. And I look at guys like Matt O'Reilly tonight after the game and go, fucking well done, young man. How could you want these young guys not to do well? It's not a squad's fault if they're not of the level that we expect for Celtic. They're there, they have to be backed. That is fair on terms of the players. The manager, to me, it's a case of he's pissed me off at times, but I want him to come good. Right? He's the guy I want to be in charge that comes good. It'd be Brendan Rodgers I would pick. Everyone, I think, who watches the channel knows that. So I was delighted for him to get the win as well. Am I annoyed at the rest of it that can come with it? Of course I fucking am. It is annoying.
That's up to him to manage, though, Bhoycie. That's up to him to manage. I mean, he'll know the reality of what tonight was and what it wasn't. He's got to grow a set and make things happen.
Well, exactly. Well, I've always asked him to find his bullets, but what I always ask as well is, despite Celtic getting the first win in the Champions League in fuck knows how long, we finished the group with 4 points. We're still out of Europe altogether yet again before Christmas. For that, I would always say to Terry and the rest of you, keep your eyes on this board. Good night.